Previously on Coming Out of the Cosmic Closet.
So this massive energy pours in, and then my head drops, and then it just picks up, and then this big booming voice came out of me and was like, "We are here, and we're here to like change the planet." And when something like that happens, how do you even believe that it's happening?
Everyone has a special gift. Mine? The Circle of Light. They speak through me, and they're here to assist the planet's evolution to a more enlightened space, and for some reason they chose me, a raunchy comedian, to be their vessel. I used to be secretive about my ability, but now it's time to come out of the cosmic closet, and you should too. My name is Georgia Jean, and these are my crazy stories. Hey, all you wild and wacky explorers of cosmic consciousness, and those of you who are just a little bit curious, maybe a little bit cynical still, maybe a little bit nervous. I'm glad you've joined us, because that's what this show is about, coming out of the cosmic closet, making an open discussion about what all this metaphysical, non-physical, multidimensional, ego-busting, mind-breaking cosmic stuff is. And in this episode, we're going to be picking it up from where we left off at the end of episode 3, which is all about trusting practitioners in this field, in this work. In this episode, we're going to talk about how you develop trust with your own abilities and gifts as they're opening up, and what I had to do and what I had to kind of go through to believe that this circle of light shenanigans talking through me was a legit thing and not me just being completely delusional and crazy and whatever else you might want to project onto me about that. So we're going to pick it right back up. This is me, Georgia Jean, circleevolution.com, chatting away with Melissa Rutigliano of themildslab.com. Let's go.
I get why people would be nervous. And I mean, I'm just said like Labradorian enthusiasm, which hasn't always like, you know, I've got myself into a little bit of trouble every now and then for being just very open and enthusiastic, like at the Comedy Store, like at, you know, different things where I was just like, yeah, let's do this and just open up and go for it. But that was cool. Like so I had a lot of excitement. My roommate, I had a couple of roommates at the time. One who I mentioned was very psychic, very, very, very psychic girl, way more than me, like naturally just psychic. But she was very resistant to it.
Sure.
And she had way more like creepy experiences with it because of that.
Oh,
so
fascinating.
she had, it's like anything energetically, what you resist kind of persists, you know, like if you're fighting something, it usually will go into that egoic negative projection.
So true. Yeah.
So she was I'm like channeling the archangels, like just having these kind of beautiful experiences and whoa, you know, even while you're still trying to figure out if it's even real, she's having like dead people jump into her car. The house was, you know, a bit haunted. Like she was a lot more terrorized by her initial experiences with, and not that the dead people were like going, you know, but just
that was her natural reaction to begin with.
It was a natural reaction to resist that process. And, you know, and there's a lot of talk about that. There's like sort of, we have our past life memories of being like burned as witches and all that kind of stuff can feed into that resistance that having abilities can equal being persecuted, being, you know, even like some of the stuff that I talk about, like, why am I coming out? Because I'm aware that there's people who are going to, and I just hope it's not within my circle, but that there will be haters. Like, I don't care that much about the, you know, the general public in that sense, because it's more important for me to help people. Yeah. But even just, you know, having
your peers
family,
or friends
be like, or just not accept you. It's just feeling of not being accepted is
Yes.
never a good feeling.
Right.
You know, we never like that sort of icky, you know, bit of rejection, you know,
Yeah.
of our beingness. But I think, you know, of course, people have had it way worse in, you know, these other times when, you know, people were burned at stakes, they were sacrificed. Like,
Yeah.
so there is a lot of energetic trauma memory around opening up abilities. And as you actually open up, because the job is to clear the channel, you do have to kind of process that stuff. So even for me, if I'm consciously, so we were all opening up in the house at the same time, and I'm like, this is great, let's do magic-y stuff. And my roommate was like, stop doing it in the living room. But we had a lot of emotion came up. So on the one hand, you've got these beautiful high frequencies coming in, but at the same time, all the fear, all the anger, all the suppressed rage,
Yeah.
all of this other stuff is coming out. And I had no guidance about what to expect from this phenomena, which is something that happened. And I was like, well, of course I'm going to be fine now. Of course I'm going to be, you know, the spirits are looking after me, la, la, la. You know, everything will be good, and having these kind of experiences. But then like my roommate and I would get into a fight about me being magical in the living room with some friends, and she's just like traumatized because the energy for her was too much.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she was like, guys, stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
So it was hard, and different personalities are going to, you know, relate to it better. So I am an introvert extrovert, and with plenty of extrovert, and she, I think, is more of an introvert. So just being more out there is a challenge. So that was, you're kind of going through this process of clearing the channel, reconciling your reality now, which is different. You know, I think I've told you the story that I would be, because I was still like, it didn't suddenly solve every problem I had. Like, you know, my money issues didn't go away instantly overnight. It wasn't this just, I'm suddenly, I mean, I was sort of vibrating on a different level, but not all of me. And we'll get into all of that. There was still plenty of stuff for me to work through over many years.
Yeah.
And so I would be in the morning channeling like, Archangel Michael and having this experience. And then at night I'd be like on some catering job. I remember like channeling Archangel Michael in the morning, picking up squashed grapes off the ground at Tori Spelling's wedding. Like legit, 3:00 in the morning. Like they didn't want any dirt in the garage where we had set up the catering, and I'm like picking up the squashed grapes off the ground.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Just been serving this like opulent, wedding with all the 90210 people, like service, and I'm like, it's crazy. Right? You're like, how could I be, freaky frequencying out with the high consciousness beings, but I'm still like a dirtbag.
Yeah, literally
caterer by
scraping the
night.
floor. Yeah.
But it's a very humbling process,
Yeah.
and I think that really is it. You can't not. So the self-clearing, and there's like a whole, like the girl that I had this event with, we were kind of like, is this really, we were very like, is this really happening? Because
Yeah.
we were sort of going, well, if this is really happening, we should be getting like some really cool information, not being, as I said before, just like the Abraham, Hicks covers band, kind of going, the law of attraction, being positive, just like churning out other
Over
people's
on stage
materials.
B. Yeah.
Exactly, just like the hacky comic, stealing people's bits, and So we were really, and so because if something big like this happens, and on some level the beings are saying, come in and help this shift of consciousness, which I know we've got to get to that more. You feel like this big thing is happening, and it is a matter of like, am I giving up my old life to walk this path, and can I really believe and trust in this. And you kind of are more dramatic about it at that time. It's like,
Oh,
I
I'm
must
sure.
do the work of spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit has called me to,
I don't know what it means.
to be
but I'm
in
going.
service, you know, and there will be a retreat center, of course. But I was like, there'll be a retreat center and, you know, I'll just be whatever. And look, who knows, maybe one day there will be. But so the building the trust in this phenomenon being real is big, but then you got to be realistic. And so my friend and I were like, all right. And testing is one of the worst things you can do with if you're going to a psychic or anybody, if you have a testing kind of energy, it's very, you know, it's totally not conducive for the channels to be open for things to happen, you know, and that's the big struggle with skeptics. But, but so we were like, okay, we're going to test this. And my friend, again, she was very open in the hands and she could like hand channel. So she would sit and type. She started sitting and typing all this stuff that she was getting. I had figured out that I could do this thing without her, which I didn't even know that I could do the channeling without her. Like I'm back up in LA. I thought I needed to be with her.
Wow.
To be able to do it. But then
like with our powers combined.
Yes, together we are, you know, wonder twin powers activate. You know, so but I had sort of had something happen up in LA where I realized I could do it by myself. So we were like, okay, we got to test this out. We're going to find out if this is legit, right? And so we gave ourselves a test, but we weren't ridiculous about it. We were like, she was going to type out channel her spirit name, right? Individually in San Diego. And then
the name of the person that she channels.
Just her spirit name. Like, you know, what's your spirit name kind of thing, the name of who you are in spirit.
Sure.
Which
I never thought about that. No.
Which is, you know, it's kind of a 101 spirituality thing, which we can talk about later because that's like, but this was the challenge.
Okay,
So like, what's your spirit name, you know, and, you know, and then I'm going to go do it and I'm going to verbally channel it. And then if we're really channeling the same entities, we should be able to get it.
Yeah.
Right. But we're not like first go. Right.
Yeah.
We were like 10 goes. We should be able to get it in 10 goes. Right. And there's a million zillion names out there. Right. There's like so many names. Right. So many names. So she went and typed it out. San Diego. I'm in LA. One of my roommate who was into this stuff but not opening up. I think I channeled for her. I got the name. I got the first name, and I can't remember what it was. And she was like, we talked on the phone, and she was like, no. I'm like, okay.
No, try again.
Back to the drawing board. So I went back with somebody else. I channeled another name, and she was like, I got 2 names, and she was like, I think it was like, I don't know, Jasper and Jemima or something like that. I can't remember. And she was like, no. She's like, but you're in the same, you've got the letter right? The first name of the letter. But we're all like, come on, we got to figure out if this is for real or not. Like, get on the phone. So she was really like,
channeling.
No, she was just like, we got to figure this out. Like, once and for all, is this really happening? Like, or is this just ridiculous? So we got on the phone together. And this time I channeled for her and I was nervous as hell. I was so stressed out because now if the beings are speaking through me, and this is why it's a little bit different from reading cards and stuff. It's like when the beings are speaking right through you, it feels like there's a lot more onus on them being 100% right. Like I can do readings and be like, it feels like this is happening. But when the being is speaking through you, it feels really, the pressure is way greater with channeling, I think, than like, if, you know, I can kind of hedge it a little bit.
You've got to make sure that you're getting the message right.
Yeah. And if not, you are completely insane. That's the other aspect, that you're just like completely mad. You know, that you're really, this whole process is weighing up. Am I delusional creating this thing that's happening, or is something really actually happening? So she got on the phone and she was like, come on, like, you know, why are we only getting information we already know? Like, why is, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of went into this explanation. And then they said, and by the way, your spirit name is Jezebel.
Jezebel.
And the phone went totally silent, and I'm sitting in the trance, freaking out. And then they go, "Is that the name that you received?" And she was like, "Yes." So that was like this really big event of confirmation. And it wasn't a ridiculous test, but it was still a pretty big test. Like there's a lot of names out there.
Yeah.
And even if you go, okay, I had the J right now, but still the way it came out. And I think what had actually had to happen for us to believe it was that she was the one who needed to be on the phone when it came. And it might have been the connection of us together that just sort of opened it, and that piece of information could drop through. I don't know. But then we were both like, at that point, like, holy shit, like this is crazy. And then we kept talking on the phone, and then she was more like, I guess she was talking to them still on the phone. Like, why are we just getting this kind of Abraham Hicks redux stuff going on? And they said, if we just put everything in your brain and you're not ready for this, it's going to feel like this. And we both, she's in San Diego, I'm in LA, it was like when Darth Vader does the Force on someone. We were both just like, ah! There's like instant pressure headache thing going, ah! We're like, okay, we get it. We're not ready. We're not ready. Yeah, for real. So they were just like, your brain is not ready for this. Like your consciousness, your brain is not ready for this. And again, this is a whole thing. Abilities are not just, I just switch it on and I'm this. There is these biological factors of why I can pick up on some kind of frequency and interpret it into something that is a congruent piece of reality, if that makes sense. Why I can get a name, why I can get, and it was really just, the more you believe it, and it was also because other people were saying they could feel the energy. That was the big thing for me, to like relax into it and trust into it and believe it. And I had another great friend that we would just hang out. I would go over there and I would just bring in the energies, and she would ask questions, but she was always very supportive and very just allowing it to happen, and I could relax more. I've got another story about why it was so hard for me to relax, but we won't get into it today. But for hours, sometimes we would just sit there and the energy would just run, and it was all just preparing, like, rewiring things, doing stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was like a long process before. I mean, I sort of started seeing clients a little bit, but that whole process of bringing something into the world that is actually helpful, and worth charging money for or whatever. Right. It's like you're going to cosmic college for a while before you could have your job in the cosmic office. Yeah, and people should have that. I believe people should have that integrity and understand that. That aspect of it. Yeah. And people who are around people who are developing shouldn't be holding ridiculous expectations on them. You don't sit a baby down, at a piano and it can play Chopin.
Yeah.
You don't have a baby, and really, you said before, it's like a language. Energy. Because, even saying the word spiritual makes it this sort of like, like this more like sort of, energy is energy. It's like it's a creating, what am I trying to say here? It's kind of a building block of experience. It isn't this, you're better than me, or it's not a holy thing. I mean, it's holy in a way, and it's like kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's also just a practical thing.
Yeah.
How energy works is just a system of how it works, and how we learn to interpret it includes biological. It's a language. So a baby, when babies come out of the womb, they don't speak 5 languages. They hear things repetitively. The neural pathways form. Then it all starts to be, being able to be put together into some congruent thing. They form a sentence. They form a paragraph. And that's the same thing with energy. When you something, when you become energetically attuned, you are taking all of that and you're learning to interpret it, and eventually you develop this, yes, boom, my system blew over, but particularly something like channeling where you're interpreting ideas.
Yeah.
The healing hand stuff came kind of quick,
Mm-hmm.
but the breaking down information and stuff that I couldn't know and stuff, that's like a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that we've been, I don't want to say trained, but kind of subtly trained over time to lose our magic and to lose touch with things that aren't as tangible,
For sure.
They say that kids haven't closed that door. They haven't learned to close that door yet. So they're really open and they can see things and feel things. But as adults, we're just, unless we've always had, if we were, raised in a particularly spiritually open home,
family,
which a lot of people aren't, but some people are.
Some people are.
I think a lot of those channels are just kind of closed off. And it doesn't mean you can't reopen them, but
it's a bit of a, and I will say that, I think, I have a lot of younger friends in the skydiving and they're so, and this is the whole thing about the whole starseedy crystal kit. These are all the people who are here to sort of seed the new consciousness and help with this like evolutionary shift. They're already way more open. Like energetically, it's a lot of the times it's easier for me to hang out with younger people because I can say this stuff and they're not like real, like they don't have the judgment of someone from an older generation who has grown up in way more closed off where this was way weirder. Things are, I remember in the 70s we had this like kind of hippie religion teacher and he taught us meditation. And we were like, he is such a weirdo. Like he was like, the weirdo. Remember how yoga was for weirdos? Yeah. Meditation was for weirdos. Yoga was for weirdos.
Yeah. Astrology
for weirdos.
Tarot, forget about it.
And it's all, now yoga's totally accepted. Meditation's accepted. Like it is changing. And the younger people coming in at this way more energetically easier time to be open. And they're still in touch with it. They're like, I have one friend and she's so buzzy wuzzy and I can just like, we went on a road trip together and we had to like, share a bed at times and I'd be like, we couldn't lie facing each other because I could just feel her like third eye chakra. We were both just so,
we're never going to get to sleep.
We're never going to get to sleep. Could you shut down your heart chakra? You're just so buzzy over there. They're just she's darling. So anyway, but we'd have to go and sleep. Oh no, on the couch or be like, you go sleep on the couch tonight. You just shut your chakras down. You're driving me crazy. So it's heaps easier, for the younger people who are already. I see that there's celebs like young singers out there now who are all like, my chakras are really acting up today and it's so easy for them. There's a lot more acceptance. Yeah. But for some of them there still isn't because they're born into families that are like, shut off or whatever. Right. But then there's just that thing like, how do I use this mindfully? What am I here to do with it? What is, what is going on with the world?
What does it all mean?
The millennials are, they're little buzzy wuzzy woo-woos. I love them.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, huh?
Yeah. So lots of stages to kind of work through, and then you do, even if you just want to be a channel and be like they do the work, like they do the sessions and I am me, I still have had to go through a lot of personal development work and attain my own certain level of the mastery over myself, which is another reason why I skydive. Actually, it's kind of one of the things that I do to keep pushing my edge, to reveal to myself where the weaknesses are in my psychology. Wow. Yeah, but we'll talk about that another day. So, I think we covered a lot. Yeah. That was the big boom, like of, part of the development that happened And we'll definitely bring on in, I think the circle will come in sometime soon. And if you want to actually hear the recordings of the circle and hear some of that information.
There's so many good ones.
There's so many good ones.
Website.
Go to the website. And then when you hear, like I'm joking around here and stuff, but then you kind of hear that wisdom, knowledge and base and feel the frequencies. A lot of people I know out there who are energetically sensitive will feel the frequencies. And it can be hard to stay awake during the recordings.
I was just going to say, you're lucky if you make it through one.
Yeah.
Because I put them on and I'm just like all systems by.
Yeah. Because the energy is here to short circuit the egoic mind.
Wow.
So our consciousness can move in and take us to a new level of existence.
Yeah.
But
one quick thing I actually wanted to ask, we're talking about how everyone, whether they know it or not, I don't know, everyone's feeling this shift in consciousness and people are having mini awakenings or maybe even huge awakenings. But you said something a second ago about if you decide to channel. So,
I mean, you can go and train to channel.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not, and I think, again, it's like varying degrees. Like everyone can play chopsticks, but do you have the interest?
Yeah.
Do you have a real connection to it to become a master piano player? I think there's more in the makeup of who you are.
Yeah.
That's beyond, again, that's why I kind of try and move away from the word gift because I want to encourage this idea of mastery.
Right.
But people can definitely, I think, have more innate attunement or adeptship for certain things.
Sure.
But just you've got a thing, right? It might not be channeling. Some people are great at mediumship. You don't have to do it all.
Right.
And you can kind of work on the ones you have an affinity for. And I will say that things that you're good at or have attunement in 3D may be the thing. It's like, because that part of your brain is already really developed, right? So for me, obviously, because I hate to talk. Awkward. But, my brain and my communication skills in the 3D are already pretty high. So then for me to verbally channel it's just keeping on developing those neural pathways for the new sets of experiences. I also feel a lot of stuff in my body. I'm a tactile person. I'm big on the hugs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I do feel things in my body a lot. And you said something earlier, which was funny about, how just seeing different things is too much for you. And you actually do wear glasses. So that might not be necessarily, I'm not saying you can't do it, but being visual may not be a strength. But if you're more auditory, then hearing, if you're attuned to, but you are visual in that. So I don't want to say anything
visual,
that's.
But then I also feel there's a hands thing happening, and I'm not quite sure what that's all about.
Yeah, getting the tingles.
But I make things. I've always made things, so I feel like there's a lot of power in my hands. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, no, and that's so. I would encourage if people want to develop their skills. Go, okay, well, where am I already pretty strong?
Yeah.
Am I a painter? I'm really visual. Am I a musician? Am I tuned to music and tonality? And that's it. You're already well tuned on that level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be easier.
Hone. Yeah.
Hone. Just keep honing on up the scale and things will, I think that's a helpful thing. There's no people be like, if you're not a tactile person at all, if you don't like being touched, then healing hands may not be your thing.
Right.
Even when I read the tarot cards, I think, as you know, I'll look at them with my eyes, but I actually put my hands over the cards and I feel, I feel. Or if I touch someone, even though I don't do that much hands-on healing, like I'll do it for the skydivers are always injured. I was like, come over here, let me heal you, like my child. And then I'll feel like probably if there's something emotionally going on in there as well or whatever, I'll just feel it. So it's like kind of touch.
Do you think automatic writing falls into a hand thing? Absolutely.
It could be, my friend.
I've never played with that, but
I think actually typing can be nice because if you can get typing, I think I don't know. Like, I'm not going to give rulesies about things or not, but I, for me personally, I feel like the thing of the pen adds a friction there that might be interfering with that energy just kind of flowing through, whereas typing is a lot more, if you're a fast enough typer, a lot more kind of like a direct, because these, you know, you just want the fastest conduit, like, but you want the least amount of time for your mind to get in the way and start analyzing and judging and criticizing. You just want, like when the circle come in, I mean, they knock me out. Yeah. I'm not, I am conscious. Yeah. But like if they're channeling about something, I might be in there going, oh, why don't you tell them this? Like, why don't, and they won't say, they will, you know, they will not say what I'm saying in my head that they should say. Yeah. They take control of my mouth. And even if we were, like, I'll know when they'll want to come in and talk on the podcast because they'll start to control my mouth. So I will have to shut the fuck up so they can come through.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So go with, if you're listening out there, go with your skills. Go with what you're drawn to. Crystals, honestly, and I don't look like a hippy-dippy type, but I do believe in crystals having the power to help us attune. And when I had my event, I was just buying them left, right, and center. I had to have them. I was like, okay, this one. The guide said expensive taste, I tell you. It'd be like, oh, this $80 amethyst ball. Oh, this, you know. Yeah. I'm like, can't we? I was so glad when they picked some selenite, which was only like $5 for this huge piece. I was like, thanks, finally. But
now you're speaking my language.
Now, yeah, can we bargain basement this cosmic stuff? But, you know, so but I do believe the crystals were helping attune my energy system as part of it. So just getting those. But crystals in the hands, on the chakras, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's up, you know, crystal 101.
I actually did a chakra balancing meditation with someone recently where she had us anoint our chakras with different oils. And that was something I'd never done before. I was like, oh, that's cool. The power of smell.
It's all frequency. Yeah, exactly. And so even for a practitioner who, like, if she has naturally a strong olfactory smell, she's going to be more attuned to maybe something like essential oils. Yeah. You know, because you can pick up the vibration, or you just have like this connection or the knowingness to work with that. Yeah. You know, so work with what you got, work with what you're drawn with. Yeah. Don't judge yourself. And we'll get into the learning how to really love yourself. It's kind of corny, but you got to do a lot of that to be a clear channel, a lot of self-acceptance. Yeah. And don't put pressure on yourself. Think of it as, you know, you're just learning how to play the piccolo. And this is not if you're going to prove you got it, this gift that this, like, completely, like, people make mistakes on the piccolo, you know, while they're learning. Of course they make mistakes. And even as you get better. So you're looking more for like a pretty good batting average, in my opinion, my, you know, as things. So that being said, I think we can probably wrap this one up. Wrap it up. It's been fantastic going down the rabbit hole, hopefully helping some little star seeds and crystal people and people who love those people understand it a little bit better. Yep. And, you know, come out of the cosmic closet. Give yourself, you know, take it for a spin.
Yeah. It's not so bad.
Not so bad. Super fun. We're going to talk more about the magic bits next week. All right. Lots of love. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us for Coming Out of the Cosmic Closet. Make sure you check out all the cool stuff that I and the Circle of Light are doing over at circleevolution.com.
And be sure to visit themarslab.com to see what my offerings are all about.
So much beautiful stuff. And we'll see you for the next episode of Coming Out of the Cosmic Closet. Please make sure that you
subscribe,
rate,
review,
tell a friend.
Yeah.
Pass it on. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.